Hello! What I'm going to show you today is how my okra are getting on. Now I sowed these, I think it was the beginning of May, maybe the end of April, I can't remember, time has flown so quickly. And they've been growing really well. Okra can be a little bit tricky. They're very sensitive to movement. They're also very sensitive to heat or to the temperature. They like it hot. So what I did is I got one of my little square pots here, and what I did is I filled it with multi-purpose compost. And I think I put 4 seeds in each one. I put 1 in each corner. And because they don't like their roots being disturbed, I thought I would give this a go. And they seem to have done really well. So you can actually go back and look at the video. I don't know what number it is. You'll have to go back. It won't be that far back. But as I say, I put 1 seed in each corner and they started to germinate. In some pots, there was only 1 that came up, and then in one, I've got one over there, there's 3 that came up. Now, I didn't separate out the 3. I've kept them together in their little pot and moved them all together, because if you separate them out, you'll disturb the roots and the plants won't like it. Now, the germination rate for okra does tend to be a little on the low side, which is why I sowed 4 seeds, or I think I sowed 4 seeds. I'm sure you'll watch it and then you'll note back to me and you'll go, actually, sorry Claire, you sowed 5. But anyway, however many I sowed. Because I knew the germination rate was fairly low, and the seeds I've got aren't new, so that will put the germination rate down even further. But they're all doing really well. I've potted them all up except for 1, which I thought I would show you. Now it's doing really well. As you can see, it's most probably about 7-8 inches tall by now. And I've only got 1 here that's come up. These ones didn't, but that's absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transplant this very carefully and put it into its bigger pot. This will be its final pot. Now, if you live in a warmer climate, you can plant yours and grow them outside, but here in the UK, even in the south of the UK, it's just not warm enough for them to be outside. So they have to spend their entire life in the greenhouse or under protection. So this pot here is actually, it's a 2 litre pot, 17 centimetres. It just depends where you get your pots from as to whether they do it litres or centimetres. But if you've got 3 litre pots, which I have got a load more, but this is the one I've just pulled out for this, then it's absolutely fine. I can fit 2 3 litre pots beautifully in here. So 3 litre pots are the biggest ones I can have. So let me show you how I'm going to transplant my lovely okra, which I'm very pleased about, into its larger and final pot. Okay, so what I have done is I have half filled this pot with multi-purpose compost. I'm just going to make a little divot in there, and I'm just going to take out my little okra seedling, well, fairly sizable okra seedling. You need to do this very carefully, because as I say, they don't like their roots being disturbed. So gently support the plant between 2 fingers, turn it upside down, give the pot a gentle squeeze, and hopefully it should come off. I'm going to have to do it down here, sorry. Very easily. Oh, it's getting stuck. Come on, there we are. Now you can see there are some lovely roots all the way round there, so it's growing really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to carefully place it in that little divot that I made, and what I'm going to do is I'm now going to fill the rest of the pot with some more multi-purpose compost. just fill it all the way round, fill in all the holes, firm it in, and hopefully you can see that I have put a little bit more compost. I've done it at vaguely the same depth that it was in its pot, but I've put a little bit of compost above it. So it's not deep, it's semi-deep. Okay, there we are. Like that. And there is my okra all planted up. Okay, so there is my okra. So that's all my okra I've done now. If you look very carefully there, that, I hope you can see it, that is the flowers starting to come up. Now the flowers, when they open, they're quite large. They're about so big, so about 1.5 inches to 2 inches across. And they're usually yellow with little black markings on them. They are absolutely gorgeous. Very, very pretty. Now, I can fit, as I say, 2 of these pots into the tray. The way I'm going to water these now is I'm going to put the water in the tray and let the compost from the pot soak up the water. So I will half fill this tray with water and I will check it tomorrow, and if all the water is gone and it's still the compost on top of the plant here still looks dry, then I will give it a little bit more. Okra don't like to be over watered. They would rather be slightly under watered. So if you over water it, then they don't like it at all. So because they like to grow outside where it's nice and hot, they can cope with it being just a little bit on the dry side. So hopefully very soon I will have some flowers appearing, and then I will have some fruit. They do tend to not produce a huge amount of fruit, but I've got the seeds, so I just thought I might as well use them. You know, you never know, one year I might get more than half a dozen fruits. This could be the year, you never know. So anyway, but I will keep you updated on their progress. You may have to stake them, it just depends how tall they get. Mine tend to get to about 2 feet tall and therefore tend not to need staking. But if yours get really tall, if you plant them outside, and some varieties do get very, very tall, so you may well have to stake them. So just use a bamboo cane, and unless of course they're enormous, then you might have to use something a little bit more sturdy. But you know your temperature better than I know your temperature, and therefore you know how large your okra will get if you've grown them before. Well, I will keep you updated on their progress, and when anything new happens, then I will show you. Well, I hope you found that interesting, and I look forward to seeing you soon.